Not every movie ends badly. For whatever reason, every once in a while, an otherwise woeful flick will somehow pull an unexpectedly superb ending out of the bag, throwing together a denouement which surprises a by-now audience with its sudden and shocking quality. With that in mind, I'm Will for Whatculture, and here are 10 incredible endings to otherwise terrible sci-fi movies. 10. Phase 4. The first feature film from Saul Bass, the designer behind Hitchcock's iconic opening title sequences, Phase 4 is a trippy 70s sci-fi effort which doesn't do an incredible job of selling its more than a little surreal premise. After some mysterious interstellar event, ant colonies begin acting strangely in the depths of the desert, drawing humans into conflict with their tiny but super smart bug armies. What ensues is a sci-fi trip so bizarre that it was featured on Mystery Science Theater 3000. But then comes the unexpectedly stunning, strange ending, wherein a 2001 A Space Odyssey trip into colorful sci-fi surrealism elevates the entire preceding film into enjoyably odd genre territory, rather than typically trashy creature feature tier. 9. Deep Impact. Doomed from the outset due to being released alongside the similarly themed but far more bombastic Armageddon, 1998's sci-fi drama Deep Impact brought together an impressive ensemble cast to face the end of the world as we knew it, and no one in the film's huge, sprawling character list felt all that fine about it. Offering an apocalypse less movingly intimate than 1990's Miracle Mile, and less expansive and impressive than later disaster films like 2012, the end of Deep Impact nonetheless offers a tragic and tranquil image of humanity resigned to their fate, proves stronger than anything in the rest of the movie, and goes some way to justifying its existence. 8. The Chronicles of Riddick. The biggest mistake involved in the production of 2005's pitch black sequel Chronicles of Riddick was the decision to convert the hard R original into a more family-friendly PG-13 sci-fi action series, resulting in a toothless installment which proceeded to leave audiences uninterested in the further adventures of Vin Diesel's eponymous hero. That is until 2013's Riddick returned to form with a violent, sparse thriller. However, the Chronicles of Riddick can at least boast an effective ending when the titular bruiser discovers that defeating the necromorph leader actually results in him becoming the new leader of these monsters. A surprising twist which is cleverly foreshadowed throughout the flick. 7. Doom. Doom's attempt to translate the phenomenally popular video game series of the same name into a gritty, space-set action thriller was, well, doomed from the moment that filmmakers bizarrely opted to convert the iconic villains of the series into stock standard sci-fi aliens, rather than the formidable demons of the original games. There's little the flick could do to recover from this pivotal stumble, but luckily the creators not only cast the always fantastic Dwayne Johnson, but also opted to throw in a superb action sequence near the film's close, wherein our hero transforms into a murderous angel of vengeance and rains down a brutal revenge on said disappointing villainous monsters. 6. Assault on Precinct 13. We really wish the remake of John Carpenter's sparse, brutal 70s thriller Assault on Precinct 13 was better. The futuristic action thrills of the original film see the Halloween filmmaker overcome obvious budgetary limitations to deliver an intense sci-fi spin on Rio Bravo's spare setup. But the 2005 film takes a superb twist, the corrupt cops are the villains, not random criminals, and manages to waste it on an uber-bleak pedestrian thriller. However, despite the disappointing preceding hour or so of inaction, the final snowflaked confrontation between Ethan Hawke's conflicted anti-hero and Lawrence Fishburne's complex antagonist makes this sci-fi thriller a more effective effort than expected. 5. Dead and Buried. Coming from the pen of Alien and Return of the Living Dead scribe Dan O'Bannon, 1981's Dead and Buried is mostly a flat and painfully slow thriller, wherein a detective and his mortician accomplice attempt to uncover the truth behind some cloudy conspiracy taking over their small hometown. The atmosphere may be eerie, but this one has little to offer in the ways of thrills and is mostly only remembered for its stunning, strange promotional poster. That is, if it weren't for the killer ending. Upending audience expectations and throwing everything we've seen into question, the flick features a twist that I won't reveal here, but which makes the entire preceding film well worth a watch, and redeems everything from the dreamy slow pace to the eerie strange score. 4. Teenage Caveman. Directed by the controversial helmer Larry Clark, bizarrely, Teenage Caveman is a critically reviled 2002 obscuro which was part of a short-lived series of TV movies based on 50s pulp sci-fi flicks from the golden age of the genre's corny past. The kid's helm had departed far from the original premise of the series with this dark tale of, well, a teenage caveman who kills his father and travels with his friend across the country. A limited and largely uninteresting premise which features a wild twist. One which may be a touch predictable now we've listed in a rundown of great sci-fis, but we'll leave you to connect the dots nonetheless. 3. Click. We're going for it. We're including the much maligned 2006 sci-fi comedy Click from Adam Sandler on this list, as the best thing to come from this critically reviled wish fulfillment comedy actually takes place in its closing moments. The film, which follows Sandler's inevitably madcap antics upon receiving a magical remote control which allows him to pause, fast forward, and rewind reality, is almost entirely as puerile and predictable as that premise implies. But the movie takes a third-act serious turn way too seriously, and ends up in genuinely tragic territory all of a sudden, resulting in the only conceivable effective "it was all a dream" twist in cinema history. 2. Someone's Knocking at the Door. Owing a debt to the grindhouse cinema of the 70s, Someone's Knocking at the Door is a largely unremarkable 2009 indie horror effort which fuses sci-fi with transgressive gross-out humor for an Adult Swim vibey mess of a film. That is, until its surprisingly clever final twist, an inventive spin on a well-worn twist ending which reframes the action of the preceding film. It may not make up for the film's tasteless and boundary-pushing attempts at dark comedy, but the clever and undeniably well-disguised twist will delight fans of edgier sci-fi horror efforts. 1. Anaconda. 1997's creature feature Anaconda may feature the most impressive great cast, awful monster contrast in film history, with the flick managing to secure the thespian talents of everyone from Jennifer Lopez to Owen Wilson to Ice Cube, only to drop the ball with its eponymous villain. The giant snake looks laughable, and the preceding film is too slow and unoriginal to mine much corny fun out of this potentially hilarious premise of a set of documentary filmmakers seeking out the titular terror. That is, until the ending. A gonzo spectacle which sees one cast member swallowed whole by the slithery fiend, reduced to a winking severed head. Yes, really, before the reptilian antagonist is blown up and later beheaded by an exasperated Ice Cube in a surreal closing sequence for the ages.